Hello everyone. So today we will be discussing the topics ethnocentrism, and after this we will moving on to cultural relativism. Yes. So these two terms are explicitly mentioned in the syllabus in 2.1 in the topic nature of culture. So it becomes important that we study these two terms in detail. Somewhere these two topics are related to the nature of anthropology, to the origin of anthropology, and also this gives the characteristics of anthropology. Yes. So let's begin with the first term, that is anthropocentrism. So anthropocentrism, if you break the two terms, it gives one term is anthro and the other being centrism. So such words are also applicable in other disciplines also. For like example, there may be ethnic and centric approaches and other approaches also. So when we talk about ethnocentrism, this basically shows that there is a centralized tendency of studying, of understanding disciplines, especially related to ethnographic studies. Yes. So uh, what happens is that if when one person takes pride in a particular culture, in his own culture, then it can be said that person has an ethnocentric view about his culture. Yes. So this is what ethnocentrism is all about. Now let's study this in detail. The origin to this topic can be studied by the works of William Graham Sumner. William Graham Sumner. Yes. So what happened that he wrote a book, Folkways. In this Folkways book, he has elaborated the classification, easy classification of in groups and out groups. For him, this in group includes includes institutions like family, friends, colleges, tribes, clans, etc., which shows that they have the basic qualities of similar attitudes, behavior, we feeling, etc. And for him, outgroups include all those groups which are away from the concept of we feeling. That is, they are more kind of informal groups, formal groups. And here, the concept of we feeling is diluted. It is more specific and is goal oriented. So this in when we studying social groups, we also here we will study that there are two groups, primary group and the secondary group. So in group can be referred to as the primary group, while out groups can be referred to as the secondary social groups. Yes. Now, when in this book of Graham Sumner, he when he in his book of Folkways he was talking about this classification. He at the same time related this is related this concept to ethnocentrism. For him, for him, ethnocentrism is a characteristic of in group. Yes. So he says that this ethnocentrism is a in group related concept. That is this. He has he has separated this ethnocentrism from secondary groups from out groups and placed this into the concept of in groups. He then moving forward defines ethnocentrism. See, for ethnocentrism, I will be using this short form. He defined ethnocentrism as the view of things in which one's own one's own group is the center of one's own group is the center of everything, and others are scaled and rated with reference to it. Yes, so this is the definition of ethnocentrism as per William G. Graham Sumner. So you have to learn this up. And so he says that ethnocentrism has double moral standards. He further adds that ethnocentrism has double moral standards, and that ethnocentrism is a universal phenomenon. In universal phenomena, he meant that for everyone, this ethnocentrism will be seen from that culture perspective. If a culture, one personality visits another culture, then his views will be ethnocentric, and similarly goes for other cultures as well. Yes. Moving forward, I like to give a value addition to this. You can mention about Herskowitz, who in 1948 also defined ethnocentrism as a feeling of superiority regarding one's own culture or way of life. Yes. He further adds that ethnocentrism has three levels. One level is the positive level, in which one's own way of life is preferred. One's own way of life is preferred, yes. And the second is the negative concept, in which one's own way of life becomes center of everything, becomes center of everything. And then the extreme phase, in which one imposes his or her culture over others, impose culture over others. Yes. So this is what ethnocentrism is all about. When we have to write this from the approaches, so if you have to give a example, or you have to mention about the approaches that, so you have to here mention about the classical evolutionist school. Here you will find that the works of E.B. Tyler, Morgan and Fraser had Morgan and Fraser had an ethnocentric view attached to them. Reason being is that these three, that the society in which they live, they had an ethnocentric point of view. So it became natural that that their books they reflected this view. Yeah. And so it is also said that they are also Eurocentric. Secondly, when we will talk about diffusionism school, so highly centric views are shown here. Highly centric views are present here. Here, what will happen that the works have represented, shown that Egypt was the place where everything began, or that Europe is the center from where cultures got diffused to other places. So in diffusionism, by mentioning the different schools under it, you can write about the 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 concept of ethnocentrism. So another definition, when we will study in the unit 6, we will study that diffusion has three schools. One is the American, the other is the British school, and the third is the German school. Or I'm yeah. So while mentioning the three schools of British, German, and American, you will be writing about how diffusionism, had an ethnocentric view that culture had the basis in one particular culture, and there it spread to other cultures. Similarly, like in now after this has been covered, what happened that there is definitely an issue which is involved in this theory of ethnocentrism. So here we will mention about what were the issues with ethnocentric views. So the issue of ethnocentric views was first mentioned by Franz Boas. So Franz Boas belonged to the historical particularism school, and he believed that to study a particular culture, one has to study the historical perspective to that culture. That history over the time has given emphasis to it, to the culture, and so he was opposed to the concept of ethnocentrism, the work of evolutionists and the diffusionist school. He believes that culture should be studied from the perspective of the members of that society, and at the same time, not criticizing or not bringing in the feelings of superiority or inferiority attached to it. Yes. So, yeah, here you can mention about Francois, then you can mention about Malinowski, because what you will find that the Malinowski's work on functionalism in the Tobriand Islands was a study in which he lived with the locals, and then he gave his studies. So here his fieldwork approach, participant observation school, got emerged, and this was in fact a work which shows that ethnocentrism has not been has not given justice to the different cultures. Yes, so you can write that ethnocentrism gives rise to prejudices. It has the genesis of racism. That is, racism can be seen in these works. It leads to human rights violation. That is, it justifies one's culture practices over other practices. Eugenic studies can also have origin in this ethnocentric views. It stalls progress. So what happens here that it can actually lead to activities like regionalism, negative regionalism, and communalism, terrorism. So all this whole can be to some extent be linked to ethnocentrism. Yes. Similarly, ethnocide. So we heard about genocides. Even ethnocide is one such concept in which different ethnic communities start criticizing or start eliminating the other community. Even the Israel Hamas Israel Palestine issue, which we are studying at this moment, can also have basis in this study of ethnocentrism. So this is all what you have to study in ethnocentrism. Like, you have freedom to add on your own points, and it will just be a value addition and fetch you in like more marks. So let's move forward. Now the second topic is culture relativism. Yeah. So cultural relativism, when in the earlier phase, what happened that ethnocentrism was being practiced. As we know that the phase in the 19th century, that is in the 1800s, it was so full of racism that the field works which were being practiced also got reflected here. Yes. So this was pretty much visible in the works of the evolutionists and the diffusionists. So what happened in opposed to this ethnocentric views, there was the rise of cultural relativism, and this cultural relativism has its origin in the works of Franz Boas, Malinowski, and other people, anthropologists. So this is what is. So this is what ethnocentrism is all about. Let's begin into a more detailed study. So when we talk about the term was coined by Alain Locke, Alain Locke in 1924. Moving forward, this term got popularized by Franz Boas in his work Race, Language and Culture. In his work Race, Language and Culture. So this was his book in which he gave a detailed emphasis on cultural relativism over the concept of ethnocentrism. Yes. So what happened that France was he was subjected to racism in British when he was there. He was practicing when he was in Europe. So there he was facing racism and by the local people. So from there onwards he shifted to America, and when he shifted to America, he at that moment, because he has suffered already through racism, so he wrote this book and gave the concept of cultural relativism. Um, Coming to the definition part, you can write the definition of Herskovitz. So Herskovitz, actually Herskovitz, what he was trying to say is that he linked judgments and experiences. He believed that judgments based on judgments on a particular culture are basically based on experiences, and so the should be interpreted experiences should be interpreted by an individual by his own enculturation. It means that if a person A has moved to a culture, for example, he has moved to a culture C. So when he goes to that culture and what this person perceives, feels, brings, he feels from that perspective, he should be judging that particular culture. For example, if a person A moves to a place and he is subjected to like good environment, that the people are serving him food and he is treated well. So his view, his culture relativist view, will be positive in that sense. However, if he went to a place where he is negatively portrayed, then his culture relativism to the particular society will be negative. So he basically tries to say that there is relativism in understanding a particular culture. Yes, your culture may be different from the culture which is being present in another place. So this is what Herskovitz was telling, that the view or judgments on a particular culture should be expressed and interpreted by an individual as per his enculturation and as per his own cultural values. So this is what Herskovitz was talking about. Moving forward, you can write about Robert Redfield. So he described cultural relativism as the values expressed in any culture are both to be understood and valued only according to the way people who carry that culture see things. So even Robert Redfield was only telling the same thing that to understand culture, one should look at the at that cultural values from the people who are actually practicing that culture. So for someone in a particular culture, the views, the beliefs to the practices in that particular culture may be positive. However, for another person who is outside that cultural sphere, the views towards that particular culture may be negative. Yes. So he Robert Redfield says that when we are writing or when we are trying to understand the particular culture, we should understand that culture from the person who is within that cultural sphere and not from the person who is outside that cultural sphere. So this is what Robert Redfield was saying. For example, if we talk about the Jallikattu, uh, that Jallikattu animal race which takes place in southern states. So for for the people who are a participant in this competition, for them this practice may be in a positive phase. However, from a person from the north who views this practice, they will find that this race is in opposed to the animal and shows animal cruelty. Yes. So what cultural relativism talks about is that viewing from outside does not give you the real reality of that particular religion. However, if you view a particular practice from either within that religious practice, then you will find the reality towards it. For example, in this one practice, uh, the animals are it is only during the race that they participate and they may face harsh treatment or they may get harm. But over the years, these animals are treated well. They are given food. They are feeded well. So they are being nourished, breed well, very well, and this is why the practice is preferred in this particular region. Yes. So this is the example which you can give. You can also give any other example which you have in your particular region as well. So there isn't any fault to it. Uh, so this is what cultural relativism is all about. Now let's talk about the relationship between ethnocentrism and relationship between ethnocentrism and cultural relativism. So as we see that cultural relativism came as an opposition to the ethnocentric views. Yes. So first ethnocentrism came and then cultural relativism came. So let's first initially talk about the differences and then we will move on to the similarities which exist between the two. The first difference is that it belongs to the classical evolutionist school and the diffusionist school. Yes, here mention the names of the anthropologists which you know. Here, in cultural relativism, mention about the historical partialism school, functionalist school, culture personality school, or any other schools in subsequent studies. Here you can give the example in this form, like this is what ethnocentrism is all about, and this is what culture is about. That we treat cultures to be in a similar manner, whereas here one culture is considered superior to the other culture. Yes. So here there is cultural insensitivity. Here you will find a degree of sensitivity is present. Here you will see that the people are close-minded However, here there is sense of open-mindedness towards a particular culture. It imposes one's own superiority. However, here in cultural relativism, people are open to change and ideas and innovations. Uh, Ethnocentric views is it is objective to cooperation and to change. So because of this, it obstructs cultural processes of diffusion, acculturation, and enculturation. Yes, that is, it tries to maintain what its earlier practices were. However, cultural relativism favors cooperation, and so it is open to change and adaptation. So this is what the difference are. For example, if we mention a tribe like you can mention about the Khasa tribe of Johnson Bawar region of Uttarakhand. Yes. So this Khasa tribe has, as per the study of ethnocentrism, you will find that they practice polyandry, and so this polyandry practice is derogatory and against the practice of monism, which is being practiced in Europe. Yes. However, if you study this practice from the cultural relativism point of view, you will find that the tribes live in hill region. Yes, and in this hill region there are low resources. There is low agricultural production, and so to avoid unnecessary stress, what they happen that they practice polyandry, and thus by practicing polyandry, they are able to stabilize the resources and make an existence, a stability in the society, stability and continuity in the society. So, in cultural relativism, when we are examining any of our tradition or any of the cultural practices, the reality behind that practice comes out, and we are able to acknowledge that practice. Yes. So, when an administrator is, for example, if we have to talk about an administrator, yes, if you become an IS officer and you are posted in a district area, or you are posted in a for example, you are posted in Andaman and Nicobar, and then there are tribes. So, as an administrator, your duty will be to not consider those cultural practices in derogatory or in negative viewpoint, but to acknowledge the cultural practices and come up with solutions or ways in which that particular tribe's issues and problems can be solved, and thus can be integrated into the mainstream society. So yes, so cultural relativism becomes very important even for administrators or any other scholars, and this is where ethnocentrism this is where anthropologists were able to offer cultural relativism school, cultural relativism practices, characteristics to other disciplines also. Okay. Yes. Moving forward, let's talk about the similarities. So, because these two practices are they are like the two poles. So what we find that in ethnocentrism, it leads to intolerance. Yes, and in cultural relativism, because of the leniency and the soft nature, it actually leads to negligence and violation of human rights. Yes, because sometimes what happens that the line between morality and cultural practices get blurred. That is the line, this the line between morality that is good and right and wrong, and cultural practices become justified. Yes. So, for example, earlier child marriages. Yes. So, child marriages was considered a moral act earlier. Yes, this is a culture practice which was considered moral as per the culture relativism school. However, child marriage, if we would have studied this from ethnocentric point of view, we would have found this to be negative. Yes. So this is where culture relativism fails in studying a particular culture practices. Now, similarly, here also there is the same issue. Intolerance has given rise to racism. Here it has given rise to the traditional practices. Yes. The third similarity which you can give is that the earlier studies of both the school were the source of their studies were the books. That is the source of study is in most of the cases were the same. That is 1 degree. However, over the time we are seeing that this 1 degree basically means that you are taking the taking information directly from the source. So it basically means that the source of study of both the schools are the same. Either you can visit or you can take the help of material from the books. So the sources are the same, and so this is what the similarities are between the two. And this is what you have to write here. There was a question in UPSC which was asked that why is cultural relativism dear to anthropologists, and or which you can say that write the significance of cultural relativism. Yes. So what you can write is that it is a very broad concept and you can easily write multiple points to this particular answer. So if you want to answer this first, what you have to write is that you have to write the definition of anthropology. Yes. So first give the definition of anthropology in short. Moving forward, give the definition of cultural relativism. Yes, along with the names of anthropologists and books if there are. Then here you will write the reasons, the cause, the significance to the cultural relativism for anthropologists. And here you will be mentioning about the different points. Yes. So here I will give you one short framework which you can use if you want. I hope it can be of help to you. So you can use this short abbreviation. Yes. So with you can write it is open. That cultural relativism allows an anthropologist to be open to new ideas. It promotes tolerance. For E, you can write about that it helps in embracing diversity. That if in a society there are diverse culture practices. So if cultural relativism is present there, so it will allow the different cultures to exist and adopt together. Navigating cultures, and languages, mindful of anthropocentrism. If in a particular society, if a particular community is practicing anthropocentrism, so using cultural relativism, you may able to identify that particular community. For example, if we talk about a Hindu divisional structure or any religious community, you will find that there will be some certain sections which are more anthrocentric to the towards the other. For example, the priests, because the priest, the monks, and all these people are the actual religious practitioners. So somewhere they are known to practice ethnocentrism. Yes. So cultural relativism allows one to be mindful of such ethnocentrism. Yes. Similarly, moving forward, inclusive perspective. That is, if an anthropologist is trying to understand a particular religion, so what will happen that different views of a particular society can be brought into. Yes. So this will help in inclusive development and equitable, then nurturing respect, develop empathy. Yeah, you can write encouraging equity, supporting human rights. Yes. So this is what you can use to give the significance. But the most important part are these are only the headings. So what the important part is that under all these headings you have to give some example or the other. Yeah. So this is what uh, the significance of cultural relativism is, and this I believe that the topic was interesting and you all understood. So thank you everyone.